Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining in today for a discussion session, an open house with the Faculty of Disaster Studies from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. I'm Sauraveswar Sen, founder Catalyst, welcoming all of you to this discussion session to understand the program's prospects, placements, and most critically, to address your queries with your applications, admissions, and future prospects with the School of Disaster Studies offerings for 1-year master's and 2 years master's program. I cannot but thank enough the faculty panel from TISS Mumbai to be with us today. We understand that, in spite of the busy schedule, a lot of commitments, you chose to prioritize your time towards this session and interact with the aspiring candidates. Thanks a lot once more. To begin with, I would like to introduce the faculty panel to all of you. Professor Lavanya Shanbhog Arvind, an assistant professor at the Center for Disasters and Development, Jamsetji Tata School of Disaster Studies. Her research and teaching interests lie in the areas of gender and development, gender and climate change, gendering sustainability and disaster studies, gendering social exclusion, cultural studies, risk management, mitigation, and assessment. Professor Lavanya has completed her MBA in finance and has 7+ years of corporate experience in the field of risk management and business continuity. She transitioned to the social sciences and has an MA MPhil in Women's Studies from the Advanced Center of Women's Studies, TISS Mumbai. She was awarded the Best Student Award and Institute Gold Medal for academic performance by the Advanced Center of Women's Studies, TISS Mumbai. She recently successfully defended her PhD in the area of gender and water rights. Congratulations on that note. She also is a published novelist and a writer whose work has been published in both Indian and international presses. Thank you so much, Professor Lavanya, for being with us. Professor Soumya Kumar works as an assistant professor for the IFRC TISS program in disaster management. She is responsible for teaching multiple courses for the online program for humanitarian professionals worldwide and the program's coordination and management. Besides the online courses, Professor Kumar teaches transboundary governance, peace and conflict studies courses for MA-MSc programs in disaster management. Soumya is a fellow of the Commonwealth Futures Climate Research awarded by the Association of Commonwealth Universities. Her area of interest is disaster governance, disaster recovery, comparative law, international law, peace and conflict studies, Asia. Soumya graduated from NLU Jodhpur and is a postgraduate from NUJS Kolkata, specializing in international and comparative law. She's pursuing her PhD at TISS on climate change litigation in India. Thank you so much, Professor Soumya Kumar, for being with us today. Dr. Vineet Kumar is an assistant professor at the Jamsetji Tata School of Disaster Studies, TISS Mumbai. He previously worked as a geospatial data expert at the FAO UN in Rome, supporting projects in Sudan, Yemen, and several African countries. Dr. Kumar also consulted for Pixel Space India in 2023. During his postdoctoral tenure at Delft University of Technology, he led an ESA-sponsored project to create a fair geospatial database using Sentinel SAR data. He holds a master's in remote sensing and GIS from the Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, ISRO, and a PhD in SAR remote sensing from IIT Bombay. His doctoral research focused on SAR satellite data for LULC mapping, spatio-temporal analysis, crop phenology, and biogeophysical parameter monitoring. Dr. Kumar has extensive field campaign experience in geospatial and biophysical data collection, including participation in the SMAP VEX MB campaign in Canada. He has reviewed for high-impact remote sensing journals and co-chaired sessions at the IJAR SS 2021 and POL NSAR 2017. He received the Shastri Research Student Fellowship in 2016 for research. Thank you so much, Professor Vinit Kumar, for being with us, and all of you to be with us and share your valuable expertise, perspective, and most critically, address our aspirants' queries for the session today. So to begin with, an earnest request to all the participants once more that feel free to interact with the faculty tonight. Use the chat box at any stage to put out your queries. We would request the faculty panel to possibly start the interaction by setting the tone, by introducing the courses and the offerings of the School of Disaster Studies to our aspirants. Thank you so much. Over to the faculty panel. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sauraveswar. Good evening to everyone. It's good to have everyone here. It's really nice that all of you could spend time with us on a weekday. Quite late for some of you, maybe. So what we're going to do today, there are three of us. We are all, as your introduction must have indicated, we are all working with the Jamshedji Tata School of Disaster Studies. And this year, our school is offering 3 programs. So we are here introducing these 3 programs. Out of these 3 programs, there is the flagship program offered by our school, which is the Masters in Disaster Management. This is a flagship program. We now have nearly 15 years of teaching this program. So whatever information you might have online about our school will be connected to this master's program. But very importantly, we've also kind of added this 1-year program, 2 1-year programs in our bouquet of courses which we offer. And that is something which we really want to share, inform you about what this program is, or what these 2 new programs are all about. The idea is that these are your 1-year programs, which will help give you very specialized understanding of. One is on climate change, one is looking at technologies associated with disaster. So we are kind of taking it one step ahead, bringing very specialized courses affiliated to disasters with the Masters in Disaster Management. So depending upon whatever course you have applied for before the CUET exam, that's what you will be kind of appearing for at the subsequent stages. And for those who are looking at admissions next year, I think you'll have some clarity as to which courses to look at. So what we're going to do today, very quickly, I'm going to take you through what is the relevance of disaster studies, how do we envision, how do we understand disaster studies, and I will talk about the Masters in Disaster Management, followed by my colleague Lavanya and Vineet, who will then talk about the 1-year Masters program. So I'll not take a lot of time. I think a lot of you may actually be aware about where we are locating, how do we understand disaster, how do we understand disaster studies. We do have a very long history of this working in the disaster space. We go back right back to the partition, where TISS became one of the most well-known education institute, in fact the only education institute which worked in Kurukshetra in Delhi. And right till now, we have collaborated with the government, with the National Disaster Management Authority, in the more recent G20 DRR working groups on disaster risk reduction. So when we talk about disasters, the focus is primarily the conversation on disaster, whether you look at media, whether you look at, in fact, when you tell your family members also what course you're working on, this is what their focus is primarily on, response-centric. But what we are now looking at is that the disaster space has transformed. And our experience, the school's experience, the institute's experience of working with governments, working with international bodies in the Latur earthquake, 1993, Gujarat earthquake in 2001, and the Mumbai floods in 2005, really created this foundation on which the MA MSc course in disaster management is located. And in more recent times, the school has worked with governments, with regard to the Indian Ocean tsunami. We worked again with the state authorities in the Kashmir floods, with multiple universities in Nepal during the Nepal earthquake. And what we have and how the literature, how the academic conversation with respect to disasters has grown is that now we now recognize that there's no such thing as natural disaster. So the misnomer of natural has gone away. And that is where the school has become a space where we are bringing in social sciences and technology, and we offer this master's in disaster management. And we have further specialized and are now coming up with two very interesting one-year master's program as well. One of the first examples where this conversation that there's no such thing as natural disaster happened globally with Hurricane Katrina. More recently in India, if we see the general conversation, this conversation has come up started off with the Chennai floods. And again, more recently, the floods in Mumbai, a recurring event in Mumbai, which are the floods, and very, very crucial, the differential impact of COVID-19 across the world. COVID-19, how the same virus affected people who were daily wage workers, people who were involved in informal sector, how the experience of all these people was so much different. So there is this very important technical component of the program, which is very useful specifically when we look at disasters like the Chamoli flash flood in terms of assessment, satellite imaging. I'm sure Vineet will be able to add more on that when we talk about the one-year master's program on Digit. How satellite imageries are so useful in terms of predicting and helping us understand what are the vulnerable locations. And that is where we now see our conceptualize our program as an understanding of hazard, vulnerability, and capacity. So while hazard-focused policy, hazard-focused work in disasters has been a very, very common thing, our emphasis has been on vulnerability. Our emphasis is on building up capacities. And what we now see that with the onset of climate change, the risk, therefore, has become a very important lens to look at disasters. And that's where we have now, again, as Lavanya will be talking about, we are talking about a new program called MRA, which is focusing on climate change risk. And that's where the new subsequent aspect growth in the sector is happening. So what we now have, the more well-known term, and that is the disaster risk reduction. The idea of reducing exposure to hazard, reducing vulnerability, working towards sustainable management, improving preparedness and early warning. That is where not just the institute, not just the school, but even the government in India, governments across the world, international organizations are now focused towards disaster risk reduction. Because the traditional model, which was focused on rescue, has gone through a sea change where we see more and more entities getting involved in the way we deal with disasters. So, and all of this has been based on our learning of looking at different disasters in the past, whether it was the Haiti earthquake, floods in Spain, all these aspects have kind of integrated. And what we have now is that development policies have to factor in the aspect of disaster risk reduction. Right from the Prime Minister 10-point agenda to the Sendai framework, they all talk about how government policies have to factor in that disasters are going to have an impact on whatever gains you make in the space. So how do you use technology in this space? How do you use more efficient methods to deal with these challenges? How do you make your policies more strong, more resilient to the experiences of disaster? Just to give you an understanding, when COVID-19 happened and markets were shut down, it was a development program called the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which became a very important source which provided employment to a lot of people who could not work in the industry. So when we look at the disaster space, we are now seeing, I think the panel which is there before you, we have Lavanya, who's from gender studies, Vineet, who comes from a background in technology. I have a law background. You can see that whatever might be your background at graduation, you will find that there is space for everyone to specialize. All your traditional, so-called undergrad programs, every one of these programs have some space in what we are doing. We are working on response training. We are looking at supply chain management. Disaster studies talks about early warning system, data analytics, rural and urban planning, policy analysis, communication, policy engagement, governance issue, welfare programs, climate change, monitoring, evaluation. You'll find that it's not one traditional academic program which can deal with it. And that is where we have a very transdisciplinary course before you. All these three courses come with that transdisciplinary perspective. I'll specifically very quickly take you through the MA-MSc in disaster management. This is a 2-year program where we work towards help you understand what are disasters, what is the social, the natural science aspect which goes into that. We talk about different approaches to development. How do they interact with risk reduction, response, recovery? What are the questions around development goals, analysis of globalization, transboundary governance? So how does that conversation come together? The program is divided into into different parts. We have a foundational course which will be common for a lot of for everyone in the institute. We have our disciplinary core courses. I'll just take you to the website in a second and show you those programs. And most importantly, the MA-MSc in disaster management will subsequently, towards the second year, will get divided into 2 specialization. One is the disaster policy and action. The second is technologies for disaster management. These are the 2 broad categories which we look at. So even though, people who come with backgrounds in engineering, who come with background in, technical programs, you do have the option of specializing in technologies for disasters. Many people who come from engineering backgrounds also end up taking disaster policy and action. So that's not a restriction that if you come from an engineering background, you can't take disaster policy and action. We, in fact, encourage people to do that. So these are your two broad specializations which you go towards. A very important component of our MA-MSc 2 years master's program is that we focus a lot on fieldwork to help give you access to the field, to really, it's like a lab, real-time lab, which you have, where you go, you interact with the community, you understand how the society operates. It could be in a rural space, it could be in an urban space. So we have a dedicated period where students will go and live in the urban areas, or they will go and live specifically in the rural areas. And trust me, for many of the students, it is the first time that they're actually going to a rural area in the country. And some of the basic learnings which we really don't know so much about our country, this is really a kind of a very important stage in the learning process, because not only are you living there, you're also experiencing the challenges. Somebody living in the peri-urban areas or is marginalized community in the urban spaces, how do they face disasters? How do they interact with some of these challenges where you do not have, say, electricity or water for a large period of the day? So these are the kind of challenges we expose our students to. We help them carry out hazard risk analysis. We help them carry out multidimensional vulnerability profile, look at specific sectors, work using resource mapping, create resource mapping using GIS. And trust me when I say this, that this is something which really sets our students apart when it comes to placement, because a lot of other programs might have a component on fieldwork, but the way we carry it out so intensively, where there is faculty engagement, faculty hand-holding on the ground, I don't think that kind of exposure is given in many places. And I think that really is very useful, especially when it comes to placements. It is also very useful when people are applying for internships, where again, variety of organizations, academic, state government, NGOs, think tanks, CSR, community-based organizations. So this is a slightly higher intensive work where you're placed in an organization and you're working, you might be working for implementation of a program. So there are a whole range of options which we kind of create with the organizations, which can help you out in your internship. With regard to placements, I think all the students are very, very curious and very interested in the placement aspect. We have a very our programs are never focused towards placement. Our programs are primarily focused on ensuring that you have the right skill set so that you grow in the sector, because we see our students as the next generation when it comes to this sector specifically. And what we find is that most of the placement work is primarily done by the students. So it is a student-led initiative. Students carry out the interviews, they are facilitating it with the organization. So there's a lot of work which the student body also does when it comes to placement. We've had a pretty good mix of placements between international organizations, education institute, government bodies, research institutions, civil society, NGOs, corporate. So there has been a good mix, and we hope that we can continue with this. Our objective is to really bridge that gap between communities and policy anchors and policy institutions, education institutions, where quite often the question comes in that we end up, a lot of our policies, a lot of our objectives are framed in our ivory towers, which has nothing much to do with the community. So that's what our focus, our objective has been. I will take a few minutes and take you through the program so that you have a sense of what kind of courses we have. Yeah. So this is on the TISS website. I will share the link with you so that you get a sense of what kind of courses we offer. The FC courses is a more centralized pool, but this is where your first semester courses are. If you notice here, we are building up the foundation. We are talking about what are the different geophysical phenomena which happen behind a hazard? What is this term of disaster, vulnerability, and risk? How do you define that? How are ecosystems coming together, and how does that have an impact on disasters, policy, and institutions? And again, if you notice, there is a very, very important component, which is the fieldwork component in the first semester itself. Second semester, we get into more, detail, intensive aspect of the program, where we talk about disasters and development, recovery, research methodology, conflict, public health. And here again, you will notice that there is a field component, which is the field practicum. Another important component of our MA-MSc program is the research dissertation, where we make sure that there is intensive research methodology input given to you. And at the end of 2 years, you deliver a research dissertation on any topic which is covered in the program, which is of interest for you. A lot of students end up taking very important topic which is very relevant for them back home. A lot of students, for example, right now are looking at heat waves in Andhra Pradesh and their hometowns. So these are very important areas where you can build up your skills. You can focus on very intensive topics. We have courses on, in the third semester, courses on economics of disaster, transboundary governance, and humanitarian action. Again, research tutorial. And the two specialization, one is the disaster policy and action, where we have specific courses on public policy, social advocacy, built environment, emergency response, supply chain management, conflict, peace, and humanitarian crisis. While the second specialization is on decision science and systems in DM, quantitative approaches in disaster and climate risk assessment, geointelligence and preparedness, and early warning system. So this is where in the third and the fourth semester, the division sort of happens, where students can choose from the two specialization. So this is the 2 years master's program, which I was talking about. From this master's program, we've kind of added on this 1 year, two programs, which are 1 year master's program. I will invite Lavanya to start to tell us something about the program on MRA. Lavanya, over to you.
Thank you, Sauraveswar. We can see a lot of questions coming up in the chat box. We'll address all your questions. So very good evening. Soumya has set a lovely tone about disaster studies and our flagship 2-year program, I will be talking about very briefly, the 1-year Masters in Disaster and Climate Risk Assessments for Sustainability. So this is going to be, I'll just give me a second. I'm just pulling up my slides. Yes. So this is the 1-year Masters in Disaster and Climate, sorry, the word Masters. This is a 1-year Masters program in Disaster and Climate Risk Assessments for Sustainability. This program was sort of conceived of as an allied program, allied to the disaster management program that Soumya so comprehensively presented. One of the reasons why we thought of launching a program, particularly on disaster and climate risk, is because risk assessments or disaster and climate risk assessments is gaining a lot of global sort of traction in the just a second. I apologize for that. So this program, there is a lot of conversation globally around based on the shifts from event-centric, response-centric disaster work that happens to prevention, mitigation, and pre-event sort of containment, right? So one way of doing that is looking at the kind of disaster risk that is present to be able to assess risk and create a brand of professionals who can quantitatively and qualitatively assess risk. And through various methodologies, through various means, you assess climate risk. And why are we sort of doing such a risk assessment is to see the manner in which we can mitigate them, minimize them. Because if you're able to quantify risk and understand risk better, you will be able to minimize and mitigate risk. So today we are talking about the shifts, global shifts in, from event-centric and response-centric initiatives to prevention and mitigation. So that's where we are sort of positioning this program. It's a very specialized and niche area. And I will quickly talk about how we're talking about a risk diagnosis. So students will be expected to do a risk diagnosis, look at this sort of interaction between hazard, vulnerabilities, coping capacities, what sort of risks do communities face, what are the factors of this risk, and how do you govern such risks? How do you treat such risks, right? So I'm going straight to what the program is about very briefly. It is going to draw from the social sciences as well as the natural and technological sciences. It's a synergy of looking at hazards, vulnerabilities, and the interaction, how they kind of manufacture risk. So students will actually be able to perform risk assessment using a range of methodologies, whether it is geoinformatics, whether it's machine learning, using big data, using AI, using quantitative and qualitative ways to sort of measure risk. It is a 1-year master's program, and I will give you a sort of a quick snapshot. So this is what you can expect from the program. And this is the program that we're offering for the very first time. And it comes with an internship, an 8-credit internship, which we will help you, secure. And we will work closely with you on that internship so that you have hands imparting skills and competencies through quantitative and qualitative approaches to assessing risk and managing risk. So I'm going to stop here. We'll take, I'm sure you have questions. We'll take those questions and we'll sort of answer it at that point. Yeah. So thank you. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'll invite Dr. Vineet to talk about the other one-year masters, which is the disaster informatics and geospatial data. Yeah. Thank you. We'll discuss.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor Lavanya, and thank you, Professor Soumya, for giving introduction about our school and the program which we are running, and what different opportunities we are giving to the PG aspirants and candidates. So my screen is visible? Okay. Yeah, so as Professor Soumya mentioned that currently school is offering 3 courses. One is our flagship program of 2-year MMSc in disaster management. Then we are also first time offering 2 1-year PG courses. So this one is 1-year masters in disaster informatics and geospatial technologies, and it's as per the UGC's NEP guidelines, which are drafted in 2020. So giving you a kind of overall picture of this course. So like right now, there is a need of a lot of professionals who are working in this transdisciplinary kind of field of disaster management. Those who are well equipped with the certain kind of technologies which are needed in the market, which are required by, let's say, disaster management agencies, let's say a national disaster management agency or a state disaster management agencies, or other private organizations as well. So with that focus in my mind and to cater the demand of industry, basically, we have designed this 1-year course, which takes you to this periphery of disaster cycle, which basically response, recovery, mitigation, and preparation, and use of technologies such as Internet of Things, computer vision, machine learning, and geospatial informatics in the informed decision making. So when I say geospatial analytics, so some of you may not be aware of the term. So it means it consists of location-based information on Earth through the help of sensors or imaging devices. So imaging devices could be your satellites, which let's say Indian Space Research Organization or other space agencies they launch. And so you might have probably heard many times that ISRO has launched this satellite, that satellite, and many satellites. But where that satellite information or the data which we are getting from the space is being utilized. So what kind of different satellite, whether it's weather satellite or it's Earth looking satellite. So you open your phone, you open Google Earth, you open Google Maps and try to look for direction, try to look for the object, or try to look for a shop behind you. So how these location-based things with the aid of the imaging, with the aid of sensing information, these are working. So we want to share information. We want to, make fundamental strong of the participant in this particularly domain and emphasizing on the disaster studies, disaster management, and in overall disaster response side with the aid of these technologies. And this is a bit sort of advanced course which start with the foundation subjects and then moving on to the advanced subject. So this is basically a 1-year course. So it will be a bit fast paced, and also it will be of 40 credit. Each semester is 20 credit. And then we also provide opportunity for a 1 short-term research paper in the end of your, 1-year program. Also, we are trying to offer one internship course. So between the course, you will have the opportunity to go to the organization. And for this particular course, our focus is more on the private industry side, which are working in geospatial domain, which are working in decision making domain, which are working in disaster kind of in support based domain, and also some of the organizations which are overall working in data analytics domain. So when we say satellite data operating for many years, we are using a lot of data, so it's a sort of that big data kind of problem as well. And when any disaster happens over a massive scale, so flooding happens over a entire state, so then you need to process a lot of information. So all those sort of thing with informed decision based action, that is the overall motive of this program. And as you can see in this slide, so we have various component: remote sensing, GIS, decision and action for efficient utilization of information. Also, if we see it as a transdisciplinary lens, although it is covered by Professor Soumya, so as a school, the faculty is all very well diverse. So here we three faculty, which we are from entirely different domains. So the motive of these courses as well to encompass many dimensions or many disciplines, such as geospatial technologies, information and communication technologies, which also a part of, let's say, computer science. And then when we add it to, values of social and environmental justice, so that includes earth science and geography, and also what we are doing, whether it is in the end going to the society in terms of informed decisions, so that it's not sometime not only directly working with the society, but give the policymaker a sort of information so that they can take a better informed decisions. So that's sort of the objective of this course. And I would say this is a brief introduction. And if you want to, get to know more about of this course, so kindly go through the web page of this course in our Jamshedji Tata School of Disaster Studies website. So here you can see this is for Digit 1 year program. It is self-financed one, and it's the seat intake is 15. If you want to go through what are the different courses we are covering, how many credits for these courses, and also what are the broader objective, as well as the fee structure of this course. So you can see all this information on our website. And also I would also like to suggest at right now this stage to go through the websites, go through the school website, and if you are interested in applying, then please go through the PG admission portal of TISS. So currently the admission procedure is centralized through the institute. So you need to log in. So if you have given your CUET exam in the corresponding courses which are relevant to disaster course, so then you need to log in through this PG admission portal, register itself. And because a lot of questions were on what is the cutoff or how to apply for this course, so the cutoff will be decided once we have the entire picture, how many candidates have applied for this course. So that sort of information will be clear after, I think, 24th of May, once we have like last date of the application is closed. So that's it for now from my side. Now I think we are open for questions, and I can already see there are a lot of questions in the chat box. So
Vineet sir, so I have a question for you. Like, what's the suppose I am selecting the course simply MA in disaster management, and in the second year I have chosen the technology specialization, and then there is other course of 1 year degree of geospatialism. Then I want to know the scope of the difference between the two courses, not only in the terms of placement, but the future scope in terms of higher education, more higher education, or some other scope of this course.
Okay, thank you for your question. So I will take I will take it as so that other candidates will also be benefited. So for our flagship 2-year MA MSc program, the eligibility is any bachelor studies. So it will be any BA. If you have done BA, BSc, or bachelor in engineering, you are eligible to apply for this. And for this 1-year digit program, so for that particular course, you need to have a 4-year master's degree. And then also we have mentioned a criteria that 4-year bachelor degree. Sorry for that. So if you are applying for this 1-year digit PG program, you need to have a 4-year bachelor degree. It could be either bachelor in engineering or bachelor in, let's say, BR, B plan, or let's say 4-year bachelor in agriculture or forestry as well, which they have kind of project in the last semester. So then coming to your question, so the 2-year MAMSC course give you the many foundational courses, which I think Professor Soumya and Professor Lavanya told that you get information about various, let's say, transdisciplinary thing in terms of how the disaster risk vulnerability through the different lenses in terms of social science, in terms of let's say a transboundary problem, or in terms of participation from various organizations, all those things. But digit program will be more of advanced program. So it has 3 basic courses, and then rest of the courses are on advanced side of technologies, let's say on decision making side, on the use of quantitative information for risk assessment, and then geospatial technologies. So this course will be a bit advanced, and so in 1 year you will do a lot of advanced studies, and in 2-year MAMSC, we have a full-time thesis of around 20 credits. But in digit program, you have a only short-term research paper kind of thesis that will be a 4 credit. So you are basically given almost a 1 month, or let's say 1 to 2 month period dedicated to your thesis. But in 2-year program, the dedicated period is quite high, and it is spread across the semester. And coming to the placement and internship side, so internship, we have very well good connection with the various organization in the country and outside the country as well, where our current MAMSC 2-year program student goes. So we are building on that, because for digit program, which is 1 year, so we are running it first time. So we are building on that. So we use the same organization and added on more private organizations for the internship purpose, and the similar organization we will look for the placement purpose. So I hope I have answered your question. And
So
yeah.
restricting
Yeah.
to the only MA program of 2-year degree, specialization in technology, only that program. I want to know that after completing this degree of 2-year in specialization in technology, like now after completion, what scope we have further, like in further in career growth?
Yeah. So further in career growth, if you are research oriented, then you can go, let's say,
No, sir,
apply.
I'm talking about technology specialization, not research oriented.
Yeah. So the research is very broader thing. So again, I would like to say that some of our students, current students, who have opted technology part, TDM part, which we call it in 2-year MMSC. So some are applying for, let's say, for their PhDs in IITs or abroad, and some of has opted for the work in industries. So for example, Reliance Foundation and Deloitte. So they are our recruiter, and other recruiter, maybe Professor Soumya can add on. So where our current
I
student
think
particularly.
some of the TDM students also get placements in state governments. Every state in India has a state disaster management authority, and there is a lot of push in all these state disaster management authorities to have hazard maps and build up very advanced mapping. So that is where a lot of our TDM students get opportunities. A lot of international organizations have programs in India where they are working in collaboration with governments, or they are working on individual projects. So there again, a lot of technology students in terms of, collating data, building maps. That's also another place where students find placements in the two-year MA program.
Yes, ma'am, I've seen that on LinkedIn.
Oh, yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of questions are about the entrance exam.
One last question.
Yeah, please.
Can I specifically talk about the placement scenario? Like, what's the median placement in MA in disaster management for technology specialization?
I don't think we have data like that. Vineet, Lavanya, would you have data? I don't think we. So as I said, it is a very student-led initiative. And we are really not very focused on finding medians. We just want that everybody gets placed in organization which they find is useful for them and which is useful for their growth. But I would definitely add that most of our students find placements where it has been pretty lucrative for everyone. So I won't be able to give you a specific information about the median salaries.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
So we have corporates that come and take students at 10 plus, 12 plus lakhs. And then you have other kinds of organizations, maybe 5, 6, 7. So it varies. It depends on the organization as well. So, so it's not really median that way. Yeah.
It is not like your engineering institutions or even management institutions where you can have because our as you saw the list, the industries, the people we are looking at as recruiters are very varied. So there might be some project which has a lot of money because it is maybe being funded by the World Bank, and then next project may not be very well funded. So it's not a very uniform package which comes in, and sometimes companies come in and they will give you an exorbitant amount, and students may not be willing to take those jobs. So it varies. So we don't really have a median number and like that.
Ma'am, I've seen that students are getting placed in Deloitte. Like, what position are they getting in Deloitte? As that's a corporate job thing in Deloitte.
Yeah.
So what position they are getting?
So the Deloitte has a division called the Crisis and Resilience Division. So some of our students in the last 3 years have been getting placed in their Crisis and Resilience Division, which has got work around the areas of enterprise risk management, because a lot of concepts that we teach, concepts, theories, frameworks pertaining to risk management, that knowledge is transferable to other domains as well, right? So we do a fair bit of teaching around risk. What is risk? How do you define risk? What are the different ways, different kinds of entities engage with risk? So as in the roles of risk assessors or risk consultants and so on. So there's a lot of Deloitte. We have students who also work in the big four, EY, KPMG. The alumni are there as well. But we also have a lot of students who are in UNDP and in those kind of developmental organizations. And as Soumya said, it all depends on the kind of organization and what is their funding at that point and what they can pay. Yeah. Even BCM, business continuity management, is also an area that students get placed. Now, ESG, so students, maybe not the current batch, but we have students working in ESG as well, and allied areas of sustainability. And so, yeah.
Ma'am, is there any specific thing that the students who are choosing the policy thing, they are getting collaborated or internship or whatever with the government organization, and the student which are taking the technology specialization, they are getting placed or whatever in that corporate job?
No,
Is
it's
anything specific
it's-
like that?
No,
No,
it's not like that.
nothing,
Yeah.
nothing like that. See, there are times where governments have specific projects where they are looking at, we just had a student from policy group who worked on the heat wave plan of Maharashtra. So that's a very policy centric work, but they also needed input from technology, in terms of heat wave mapping and all. So there, again, a student from TDM can find a place. We've worked with the Kerala State Disaster Management Authority, and there our work was primarily anchored by students from the technology background. So it varies from, the requirements of the government, requirements of the organization. So there is no division that only the TDM people will get government work or a corporate work, or only the policy action people will get the government work or a technology work. Of course, technology related work, the policy students will not be able to do, but in terms of types of organizations, the wide spectrum is available for both groups.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, once we have got a project, and one day that project is going to end, then what after that? That will have a gap in our career and all things. Like, a project has a limited time.
Yeah, so I understand your concern, Tanu, and that's something which, all of us, I think, in the academic sector and the development sector have to deal with. But see, the thing is, the good point is that when you work with good organizations, you will also build up your networks. So we don't find our students struggling with, finding a next project or finding a next organizations. Many times we have students who worked with the government, and then they'll work with the international organization. So you build up your networks, you build up networks within TISS as well, so networks across schools, and that really helps in finding your next project, finding something which will be more interesting for you. So I think that is a very important part, especially at a postgraduate level, for that's for everyone actually, that building your networks and connecting with people. You might be working in a job which is very secure, very there's money for the next 5 years, but you're not enjoying that work. So building those networks and then finding a good job which interests you will be very useful exercise for you. And we have a very good alumni network now. I think every state disaster management authority, we have somebody or the other we know. So these are all opportunities which are constantly coming up. So not a big challenge, I would say. I understand it's very daunting at this stage, but as you grow in the sector, as you meet new people, you will not find it very difficult.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Can we take questions from other candidates who are having queries?
If we could just go through the admission process once, I think there are a lot of questions are on that. So I will just clarify the CUET, the interview and all of that process. So I think that hopefully should address some of the questions. So for the MA program, the MRA program, which Lavanya just talked about, the digit program, which Vineet talked about, the admission for all these three programs is going to happen via the CUET, which is a common entrance exam. I think all of you will know these terminologies, these exams more than us. This is a common pan-India entrance level exam meant for central universities, which I think some of you have cleared it. I can see some of you sharing your scores. So at the stage of registration itself, you will have to select the program you want to apply for. So whether you want to apply for the 2-year program, the 1-year MRA program, or the 1-year digit program, you would select it right at the beginning. And once you, after that, you clear, you give your CUET exam, and then you have to register at the different universities' web portal. Now, for us, the process, I think we've shared the link also with you. I'll also again share it with you. So all those people who have applied for the 2 years MA program, the MRA and Digit, you have to wrap up your registration process by the 24th of May. Only once you are done with that will you be able to complete the process, then appear for the interview and be considered subsequently. If in any case you did not apply for Digit and you applied for the MA program, or you applied for Digit but did not apply for the MA program, at this stage, that cannot be changed. I think some of you had that concern. At this stage, we cannot make those modifications. But all that registration details have to be provided on the TISS website. You complete that process by the 24th of May, and then we will receive a call for interview. Now, again, we don't know, as Vineet mentioned, what the cutoff is going to be. In fact, even before this, the CUET is you're doing it for the first time, but even before this, cutoffs are, it's sometimes it's really very good. Sometimes it's very high, sometimes it's very low, sometimes it's very, very unpredictable. So let's see how it is this year. But what will happen is that once you've completed the process, then we'll have a sense of what the cutoff is. That should not really affect your preparation. You should definitely go ahead with whatever you have in mind. With regard to the interview, you will be allocated to different panels. Of course, I can't share questions and all of that. And what we basically are looking for is that you know your academic programs which you have just completed. Your undergrad, well, you have conceptual clarity on what you have done at your undergrad level. So we will have questions on, very, very basic questions on what you've covered in your undergrad. We don't expect you to know what is disaster recovery, what is disaster risk reduction, but we definitely expect you to be aware about what's happening in the sector. Current affairs, news, general information about what has been happening, what kind of hazards, what kind of disasters have happened in the country, something about your area, something about what's particularly concerning in where you come from. So that will give us a sense of how aware are you about this sector. So if you work on these two lines, if you work and elaborate on that, I mean, I can't give you specific questions for sure, but definitely tell you that this is what we look at, that you have done full justice to your undergrad program. You're interested in this new sector. You are generally aware about what's happening. You are also aware and conscious about issues around social justice, issues around challenges in the society, conversations about different concerns which are relevant in the society. So that social science perspective is also something we would expect that you are aware about. Again, not looking for very technical, what does social justice mean? No, I mean, unless you are a political science student, I'm not asking you these kind of questions, but awareness, concerns, how are your conversation, how are you talking about these issues? That is something which will be helpful in terms of showing us that, okay, you are aware about what's happening in the society. So that's what we are looking at in the interview. I can't, Satyam, I'm sorry, I can't give you specific questions whether this will come or not. I may not be on your panel, so my assurances don't work whether the person will ask you this question or not. You're a political science question of a student, so yeah, it'll be, you could have all sorts of questions. So it's all open to you. Whatever is there in your undergrad level, we can totally ask that. Interview is in English language. The entire program, all these 3 programs are in English language. The interview will also be in English language, but in case you're not comfortable in English, we will be there to help you, support you. We will not be, in a small school, we don't have everyone, we can't really cover all the languages. Therefore, English becomes the most suitable one. But if you are not comfortable in English, we'll figure something out in the panel. It's okay if you are not comfortable in English, even if you make that effort to speak in English and to, do it with full confidence, that's absolutely fine.
Good evening.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about PhD program and any other research program? Because I completed my master's in media.
Masters in media, I don't think PhD in disaster management, we'll have to figure that out because I'm not sure what the admission process for PhD is right now. I think that is also going through a bit of a change. So I would suggest you should visit the website. I think there's some notification on the PhD program. So sorry
Ma'am,
about it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Um,
in the second round, we are just having the PI or some other also thing like extempore round or GD, or just the PI.
I think it's only going to be PI, right, Lavanya, Vineet?
Yeah, as far as we know at this point, it's just going to be your CUET scores and then the PI. There's a question on fee structure. It's there for each of the programs. The fee structure is there on the website. So you can go and Dr. Vineet has shared the link to all the programs. So if you go to the link, you can see the fee structure for each of the courses.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, I'm here just for your guidance that I have done my master's in disaster management. So as a fresher, I'm looking for job opportunities. And as we know that nobody wants to take freshers, like most of the organizations don't take freshers. So I just want your guidance that from where I have to just start my career in this, like any organization or particular NGO you want to suggest.
Where did you do your disaster management from?
Punjab University.
Okay. So you could keep looking for opportunities in various state disaster management authorities. They keep posting internship opportunities, NIDM, GIDM, different the institutes of disaster management constantly they are posting internship opportunities. So it'll be good to start with a internship opportunity somewhere, either
Yes,
paid,
ma'am, I have
unpaid.
done 3 internships, like one from
Yeah.
BSPMA, and right now I'm working with the Relief Commissioner Office, UP, and I have done from MG SIPA here only, Punjab only. So now I'm looking for like job opportunities. So many of us suggest that start with the NGO. So any NGO that you can suggest me to start with?
There are lots of, like you could look at Unnati or like there are lots of NGOs that you can.
Water aid or
Yeah, so Water Aid and lots of NGOs that are working. You look at development or DevNet jobs, the lots of
yes.
things there. We have
Atrish, yeah.
yeah.
Hello, good evening, panelists. I hope all you are doing well. So, does the faculty provides or help students to get internship opportunities during pursuing the course in between mid-sem break? For instance, I'm looking forward to pursue an internship. So, does the faculty help us to get that?
So the as if you're part of the program, like if you're a registered bona fide student in our master's program, the flagship one, which Soumya presented, there is a 6-week internship component, which we coordinate for you. So we get you placed in that organization. So we have a sort of list of organizations who we contact and we make, because it's credited, that internship is credited. So we get you in touch, put you, place you in an internship. And sometimes those internships go on to become final placement offers, depending on your performance and so on. In the risk assessment program, also there is an internship component of the 1-year risk assessment. So there also we coordinate the internship for you. That is a 8-week internship. That's the only time the faculty will help. Any other time outside of these credited or sort of slotted internship of these planned internships, we, if we come across opportunities, we always keep sending it to our students via various dissemination channels. So if you're part of our, if you're a student with us, either through the WhatsApp groups or through our email, we keep, as and when we get opportunities, we pass it along. So then it's up to you how you apply for it. So, but this, what is part of the program, we coordinate those internships, yes.
All the communication
Thank you.
taken care by faculty for
Yes,
the
yes, all the
credited internship.
faculty takes care of.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. Sir, how's that? Sir, my
Yes.
question is that I was looking that we have to choose the specialization before going to the interview. Am I correct?
Specialization between DPA and technology?
Yes, yes.
No, so once you are enrolled in the program, you'll then have the opportunity to decide, and this is for the 2-year master's program. The selection between the 1-year master's program that you do before CUET, the selection for masters in disaster management, disaster policy and action, or technology in disaster management, that specialization selection you do once you are in the program after, I think, at the end of the first semester.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yeah, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, Adish. Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please tell the job prospects after completing the 1-year program? Like, I mean, if you have any prior experience on that, so from that perspective, I'm asking.
So this is the first time we're offering a 1-year program in line with the NEP. So we are, and as I said, there is a 8-week internship, which is part of the 1-year program, which we kind of coordinate for you. And you can, based on your performance and so on, those organizations might consider giving you a final placement offer. Apart from that, see, this is the reason we've sort of conceptualized this program is because we're seeing that there's a need in the disaster risk and climate risk sector. The sector has, demonstrated a need for those who have skills to do a risk assessment and a risk diagnosis. So we constantly keep, getting requirements that we want students to be able to actually assess a risk. So the existing organizations also, which are into disaster management, all the organizations that Soumya has sort of nicely spoken about, all of them might have more roles for a risk assessor and a risk person, so that would be the what I would say as the job opportunities. So we yet to see, because it's the first of its kind program in the country at the moment.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Ravi.
Ma'am, gap year will affect an interview?
No, not really. No, we don't.
We might ask you about why do you have a gap year,
Yeah.
but that will not affect your prospects in any.
I was preparing for CAPF examination before this exam.
That's fine. So
That's
that is
fine.
not going to affect.
We have students who spend 5 years preparing for the UPSC, and then they come and all that. So we are very welcoming of all of them who are preparing for exams, because we understand the
We might
pain.
ask questions on what you're preparing for. That can come up.
Yeah.
What, ma'am?
We might ask questions on, what you did prepared for your CA exams.
CAPF exam, ma'am. Central Armed Police Forces examination.
Okay. So you could have questions on that. So, some basic questions on what you prepared for.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, but that will not affect your prospects in any way.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
There's a question on GD and extempore. As per our knowledge, we don't have GD or GD or extempore. But we focus primarily on current affairs, as Lavanya just mentioned, general knowledge, and whatever you've done at your undergrad level. So we could ask questions on that. Altamash?
Yeah,
Altamash?
yeah. Good evening. Yeah, the question I had is the master's program for disaster management, the 2-year program. do you see that program as more like corporate oriented or like social oriented? Like where do you place it?
So see, it started with a very important aspect on looking at the needs for the community and bringing that to the forefront. And our objective was that students should be placed with community-based organizations, international organizations, state bodies as well. But there are many students who end up working in corporates because a lot of corporates, like we were talking about Deloitte, are looking for students who understand some of these conversations on ESG, developmental issues, and they for them it is a very important area because now all these organizations are also working on ESGs. So that way, in terms of placement, we find a lot of our students going to corporates. But at the heart of it, you will find a lot of our other faculty also saying it. At the heart of it, we want students to work in community-based organizations. So the social science perspective is very strong. But in terms of opportunity, both are available for our students.
So do you think, is it the case that a lot less of its learning are implemented in corporate sector? Like the whole total 2 year program, out of that, maybe 10-20% of the learnings are, utilized you working in a corporate sector, since you said that it kind of overlaps the learning and their requirements. It's not exactly what disaster management is taught through TISS. So do you think it is like a lot less of its learning are implemented there and a lot of their requirements are expected from us, like our background maybe through management or so? Like, I hope you
No,
get my
no.
question.
So I get your point. See, a lot of like your Deloittes and your EY, they are not the what when they take our students, they are not looking for the managerial skills at all. That is more your masters in human resources might be a better place there. They are not looking for your managerial skill set. They are looking for how well do you understand climate risk. How do you what Lavanya was talking about in the program, how do you quantify climate risk, how do you build up more efficient supply chain management. So that is what they are looking for. And that understanding of that in the context of disaster is what our students come with. And that's where Deloitte's and EY have been able to capture this kind of space with our students, that our students do know about all these things. They also know about what are the critiques of these processes. So the managerial skills in these are not what these organizations want from us. They want students to know about different theoretical perspective on development. They want them to know research methodology, specifically quantitative research methodologies very, very well. And that's what they look for. So the managerial skill set, which you might get in an MBA program, which you might get, that is not what Deloitte and EY want from our students. They want more complex understanding of climate risk, BCP, business continuity planning. So that's their focus, not the managerial skill set. I hope I have answered that question a bit. So there are components of this which is spread across the programs. I wouldn't say 20-30%. I would actually say a good 70 to 80% of the program is very, very relevant for what they are looking for in Deloitte, which they do not get in other academic programs.
Okay, yeah, thank you for answering. One more question that comes to my mind is, since we have research dissertation, so the research, is it more like quantitative or qualitative, or is it up to the student, like whoever is doing that or conducting that research?
It's up to the student. You will have a research guide who will guide you in the process. So it's between you and the research guide. Both quantitative and qualitative is taught separately. So that option is available. And when it comes to your jobs, they would want both quantitative and qualitative. So nobody is just looking for quantitative. Qualitative is also very, very important there. So, we want that you should be well skilled in both and a mix of it also.
Okay, thank you for answering.
Any further questions?
Ma'am, we have seen that in the programs of 1 year programs, there are courses like sustainability and technologies. Now, if I take the 2 year program, then I can I learn those things which are in the 1 year program, especially in the 2 year program?
No. Well, there are some program. See, firstly, all the programs are exceptionally rigorous, and you will not have the kind of space to take more courses than that's already scheduled in the timetable. So that the second thing is each program has a very clear end objective as to what the learning outcomes are supposed to be. So if you have enrolled for the 2 year masters, then you may not have the option of going and sitting in another course. I mean,
Actually, I'm not talking about this. I'm saying that is there any alignment between those courses actually?
Yeah. See, both the programs, both the 1 year masters draws its draws from the parent discipline of disaster studies. We have just gone a little niche and specialized into technologies as well as risk. So disaster studies is the parent sort of discipline, and that grounding you will definitely get in both the programs. And there will be 1 or 2 courses where you will sit with the disaster management students to understand, like, for instance, how do you define a disaster? What constitutes disasters? How has the trajectory of the discipline changed? So there are some alignments, but specifically if you're looking at how do you assess disaster and climate risk, or what does it mean for sustainable development? What is the linkage between risk management and sustainable development? Then those are very specialized questions, which you would be encouraged to apply to that particular program rather than the generic program.
And this is in the program of 2 year master degree program, the sustainable development linkages with disaster.
Sustainable development is also covered in the master's program, in the 2 year master's program. So you do have, all the concepts that you need to learn, you will learn in the 2 year master's as well. Whereas the 1 year master's is just culling out the necessary, like curating the necessary knowledge for, in a very specialized sense. That's it. So you will, whether you enroll for the 2 year masters or the 1 year masters, sustainability will get covered in some way or the other. It's a cross-cutting theme. I mean, you can't not engage with sustainability in today's time and age.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything further?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, if I may go forward, that since we're talking about a technology-intensive program that has been launched, would like to understand, there are many aspirants who may not have opportunities through their academic exposure to be, savvy with technological applications, especially that's required to meet certain industrial requirements as we speak. But they do realize the importance of the technological driven decision making processes. And for such aspirants, how does the technology intensiveness of the program kind of align them? Does that happen through the foundation course, or does that happen through any specific module, or does the school also envisage going a little extra to support them back, if the faculty would like to share? Thank you.
Well, this is a very important part because we don't want you to just be, just like, your students specializing in technology and not know about policy and action, and policy people not knowing the other. So we really want that there is like a co-learning transdisciplinary aspect in the program itself. In the first year itself, we have a very basic course on technologies and disaster, followed by a course in the third semester where we are looking at specific technology. So all our students will know what GIS is, how do you make a map. So that basic understanding and different possible, I think Vineet might be able to elaborate more on that, but different satellite images, how do you use satellite images? That's something which is a common course across the program. So it's not that you are completely, away from that conversation, but of course the specialized courses on specific technologies will happen in the specialization on technology. I think Vineet could elaborate a little bit more about the technical component in the common courses.
Yeah, to add on, Soumya, yeah, so we always have a student from diverse backgrounds. So let's say geography, political science, engineering, and in engineering as well, civil, mechanical, or computer science. So in the first year or in the foundation courses, so we have, apart from what Soumya said, the basic understanding of GIS, basic understand. So in research methodology, we also we go as low as giving them an introduction about Excel, how to write equation in the Excel, and do a mathematical operation in the Excel. And then we also teach them the basic statistics. So if they are coming from, let's say, geography background, so there is a part of a statistics also covered in the first semester courses. And then we built upon on that. So then in the, let's say, they are working on a very specific technology driven project. So then we give them hands-on tool, hands-on experiences, and if needed, so we ask them to do one or two particular webinar or workshop to attend to get the more knowledge about the subject.
Just to specify, we have in the first semester, we do a course on concepts and advances in geospatial technology. And in the second semester, there's technology in approaches to disaster management. And as Vineet said, followed by a component in the research tutorials as well on technology.
Yeah. And we have one geospatial lab facility as well. So we have the lab tutorial basically facility, and some of the open source software, some of the purchase software to run this satellite image processing or GIS thing, or how you can make maps, all those sort of things. So we have that in-house lab, and it's operationally, and it's utilized by a student a lot. Also we have, so let's say, how you can use GPS. So we try to, so one thing is you use a mobile based GPS, which now came into the picture. Otherwise you have handheld GPS devices, so how to see what location you are standing, so lat, long, and height information. So we have those kind of sensors available as well, and we teach them in the first year courses. Also, when students go to the field to do the field work, to see disaster location or a kind of do HRV analysis, so they use these devices get the training and make understanding of them as well.
And this is available for everyone, and you will have faculty support for learning this, even if you've never done this before. So I've used this GPS device with no technical background at all in remote parts of Kerala. So I think it's a doable work.
Thank you so much. Right. So we are closing into an hour and a half into the session, and if there are no questions further, we would like to really put forward a vote of thanks for the faculty, because firstly, right from the start, the tone that was set, it had that great energy which the disaster studies program brings in to our sector. Honestly speaking, feeling a little bit more secured. I'm sure the aspirants also understanding the relevance of the program, for our society, for our industries, for businesses, for human beings, and biodiversity at large. But yes, I guess now all that we are left to do is to apply for this program. Submissions, as the faculty mentioned, 24th of May. We always maintain the fact that keep a couple of days in buffer. Don't let the midnight of the last day be the time of your submission hour. We understand, all of us are definitely going through a lot of decision-making process, but we do not want any of you to face technical issues at a time when it can also be very tricky to resolve it, right? So nighttime specifically, last day, can have these overflows. So request all of you to please go forward with your application. Stay in touch with the faculty. I guess, they are kind of available through their email IDs on the TISS portal. We can't thank all of you for asking questions. And I hope the responses shape your perspectives. Thank you so much, Professor Lavanya, Professor Soumya, Professor Vineet, for being with us, sharing your time, energy, your perspectives, addressing the questions and queries. We have a question or Avirup, I think, shared something. Would the faculty want to respond to that, just in case?
So as far as I know, this is just something when we want you to indicate at the time of applying for coming for the interview. You just look at what the courses on the website and see whether you're more inclined towards disaster policy and action or technologies for disaster management. Just let us know, just as a way of indication. The final selection in the, in the specialization program will be, as Soumya said, at the end of the first semester, we'll take a look at it. So we just want you to be aware where you're sort of going to locate yourself. That's
And
all.
also right now it's from CUET. So earlier it was used to be from TISSNet. So the thing which you are seeing might be from the previous versions. So right now
Means
you don't have to mention like separate criteria.
That means I just need to indicate that in which area I want to go within within 6 months, as Soumya ma'am said. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Actually, I was confused between this.
No, but thanks for pointing it out to us. We'll also look
Yes.
into it.
Yeah, we will update it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you and all the best to all of you. Wishing you great success in your career and hope to see some of you or all of you at TISS. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much once more. We all look forward. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day. Thank you to Sauraveswar for facilitating this. It's wonderful that you could bring all the aspirants on this platform with us. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so.
Bye-bye.